briefly just go over how to actually use marketing automation.
This gets into the weeds right here.
We get deep pretty quickly. So this is just a slide. I broke this longer image into two, but really this is kind of a sales funnel in general. And so we're going to start with the attraction phase. We're going to get them to engage, at which point we capture a lead. Usually that's a form. It can be a phone call that you direct entry into a CRM, or if you use programs like Inside Sales or some of the other phone companies out there, they can actually automate that process even for you. Once it's a lead, you know, not every lead is ready to buy, and so it will go into a nurture process where you're sending out emails and different touch points, trying to get them to engage on social media, again, email and on your blog and website, and then understanding how people actually react to those touch points. And then you can do lead scoring, which would tell somebody how close to the end of the funnel they really are. And so that's kind of the nurture prospects area and the convert sales. And then
I think it could actually even be I'm not disagreeing with you, but I also think that that's upstream a little bit too with the capture of the lead as well, because, you know, in our database we see that people come in, we have a pretty long sales cycle. They come in and at one point maybe they were interested in something, and then we don't see them again for 6 months, a year, right? And so the lead scoring is actually a component of that, and I have thresholds built. So, you know, if they start showing buying signs again, it starts automating some things out to them and tracks that interest. So you can actually use it for a myriad of different things. So
awesome, John. Actually, please expand on that. Let's talk. So we have anonymous versus known visitors, and that's a big part of this. And I think what you're talking about is a little bit of both.
Yep.
But let's specifically talk about anonymous and what are some of the features and benefits, and how are you using marketing automation to turn anonymous visitors into known users?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And there's a bunch of things and a couple different methods to do that. And I don't want to get too deep in here, but just, you know, to my specific example on here. But one thing that we do is our marketing automation system currently will track IP addresses. So people going to your website, for example, a couple different times, it tracks them. Now, we don't know who they are because, I mean, we know their IP address and there's tools to integrate into your marketing automation to grab that. But what we do is it just tracks it. And then we start noticing where they're going and showing buying signs. Are they going to pricing pages? Are they going to product pages? Are they just learning in general about some of the products? And we have distinctive pages for, you know, different purposes. And then we start, you know, attributing a score to that IP address. Now, eventually, we hope they fill out a lead form. Because that really associates them with a contact in our marketing automation system. And so once it's associated with a contact, we have all that historical data of where they've been, what they've been doing, and it gives it a score. And then we have a threshold set up. So, you know, hypothetically, if we have a threshold of 40, for example, they do a bunch of things and we score each page, let's say 5 or 8 points or something like that. They start going through these pages and they eventually hit a 40, it pushes them into a lead. It generates a lead. Now that's kind of delicate because we have it generates a lead and our sales team outbound calls them. Delicate because you don't want to spook them. You know, it's very, I don't know, like we're understanding who these people are, and they don't want to be, hey, I didn't fill out a lead, you know,
right.
or
I think we've all filled out that form and 5 minutes later gotten the phone call and been like, I wasn't ready for that.
Well, and even, but look at it this way too. Even if you filled out a lead form a year ago and you start doing these things, it still makes them hit the threshold. So you don't even fill out a lead form and you still get a call, that creeps people out. So you have to be delicate with that. Excuse me. So the anonymous is interesting because it's still, the marketing automation system still tracks anonymous visitors as long as we eventually gather that information. There's ways around that, and I wouldn't really suggest it because people get really creeped out when you know that they hit your website even though they didn't fill out a lead form ever. You know?
And why this can even be more helpful with what John's talking about with the IP tracking is in the B2B space. where IP address is actually connected to a business name, you will start to see those businesses, and you can see, is there 3 people from this business looking at the site, or is it 1 person looking at multiple pages? And that can give you a lot of understanding, and especially if you might happen to have a meeting set up or something to that effect, you can bring in actual data of how that company has engaged on your site, and you're talking to warm topics versus, hey, how are you, let's get to know each other. You come in looking very, very informed, and so the anonymous in the B2B space is especially valuable.
Yes.
And there are programs such as demand-based that we'll throw out there that you can actually layer on top of the IP tracking that your automation is doing, and it can further supply you with the different names and some other analytics metrics that are very valuable for segmenting and some of the other things automation can do.
Yeah, that's a great point, and we pull that data in with other partners just based off IP addresses. Last week, my boss came to me and wanted to know, he had a list of the top 25 clients that we want to target, right? Mm-hmm. He's like, I want to know where they've been on the website. Now, the problem was, I can see where they've been. I can go in there. But, at ADP, we attract Home Depot and Walmart and, Lowe's and big companies. And so I started going in there and doing a little research and realized there's not one person that's going to our website. In fact, I did a little investigation, and we had Walmart. We had 1,800 people from Walmart on our website looking at our pages. Uh-huh. I mean, they're the biggest employer, right? Period. So 1,800 people looking at it, and you start going, okay, where are they focusing their efforts? And then you start looking at analytics from a particular company. Mm-hmm. And so it's hugely valuable information, but it can be overwhelming. But anyway,
absolutely, and we don't want to scare you guys off yet. Our next slides actually delve into the simplicity of this, but I like.
Let's pull it back. Let's pull it back.
I'm actually going to just move you forward in this stage. Can you explain the nurture, prospect, and convert sales, and maybe how you guys have done that and what the tools you're using for?
Yeah, absolutely. We have campaigns built, and we use Eloqua. We have campaigns built that in feeders in these campaigns that people go through a lead flow process, right? Let's say we've already we've captured their lead at one point. Like I say, we have a really long sales cycle. They're not necessarily engaged or ready to buy quite yet. Well, you want to put them in a lead nurturing program. And we have maybe a 10-step lead nurturing program. We have a lot of lead nurturing programs, but depending on what they were interested in. I currently represent 10 or 15 different products, and so you want to you actually respond to them with products they're interested in. So let me simplify this. We have this lead nurturing campaign in the system that our sales reps will go through, and they'll call on a particular lead. They're not interested. They're not in the buying cycle. They're no budget quite yet. Maybe a next year initiative type of thing. They hit reject on the lead, and it automatically feeds from Salesforce into Eloqua, into the lead nurturing program. And then they go through a series of email campaigns. It also integrates with Salesforce, so they'll get 3 emails, and then they'll spark a sales rep to call and say, hey, did you receive this last email? What do you think about it? Type of thing, in a very thought leadership manner. None of this is salesy. We've tried both. Salesy turns people off. And so this thought leadership program that we've got set up is, based off our blog, based off some social media things that we've got. And these emails that go out are very, top of mind, top of funnel, thought-provoking type of emails. So we don't sell anything. And so it goes through a series of about, I would say, 10 weeks of these emails, which maybe even more because it skips weeks in between. And you can set, pauses and things like that. You can spark different actions from sales reps and all sorts of things in this thought leadership program. And ours is wildly successful. We typically get an open email rate from an email blast of about 6%, on average. From our lead nurturing programs, we're getting 60% open rates on these emails, which then we're not selling anything. We're just staying in front of them. And this really goes back to the position of, the 60% of research is done before they ever fill out a lead form. Yeah. They're just interested in, we know who they are. We know they were interested in one of our services, products or services at the time, and we're giving them relevant information about it. That's all we're doing.
Right.
Obviously, at the bottom of the email, there's ways to click through to, I wouldn't even say landing pages, product pages with some tracking, some marketing automation tracking, so we know where they're coming from. But a 60% open rate on those emails is phenomenal. And we see the traffic. We see people getting to our website, filling out forms because of it. We're seeing the transition from dripping them with content to filling out lead forms and becoming re-engaged. It's pretty interesting. It's fun to watch.
Absolutely, and yeah, I mean, just the relevancy factor of it and the no sell. I don't know that I could express that enough. So many people want to say buy, 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 and in today's world, it really turns people off.
Oh, huge. People have got BS detectors like you can't believe, right?
Yeah.
And they don't want to be sold to. No one wants to be sold to. And frankly, we have a hard time getting our salespeople to call leads, which marketing calls leads, right? Sales, like I mentioned, they want qualified leads coming in, and qualified leads are a little different than leads, raw leads, right? Mm-hmm. They don't want to call raw leads, and so this lead nurturing really qualifies them adequately before we throw them over the fence. And you know what? They've gone through that, and they're ready to talk to someone after getting 10 emails on a product that they're interested in. Right. It re-engages them. So
yeah. And John, excluding sales call, just to bring back the value of marketing automation and why we think it's so important for everybody, you have a 10-week program excluding sales calls made. How many people does it take to run that 10 weeks?
None.
Exactly.
Set up once. It's
zero.
Like I've done that.
Yeah.
And I maybe look at that every 3 or 4 months to make sure the content is fresh or update. Right. You know, in my business, there's a lot of legislative updates and things like that. So I have to make sure it's fresh. But I look at it every 3 months or so. It's going on its own. And, you know, we get tens of thousands of leads that this is dropping an email to without even, I don't even think about it.
Yep.
It does it for me. Uh-huh. And frankly, the same with the lead scoring. Like when people are coming to our website, I'm not doing it. It's pushing leads into the sales team. I'm not even looking at it. I mean, I report them.
So you're a glorified data geek now.
Yeah, I'm definitely a data geek. So it's easy. And you just set this up once, and you know, especially in these new marketing automation systems, it's drag and drop functionality. The hardest part is coming up with the content.
Right.
Like, you know, let's write the right blog articles or white papers or whatever that it's not selling. That's the most difficult part. You put those in the system, drag and drop, you build the campaign, and it put little stop gaps in there so they get a little break for them, and you're off. It's done.
And I want to move on, but before I do, just talk to the bottom of the sales, or to almost the end of the sales cycle or continuation of the sales cycle, but is the idea that John just expressed for 2.5 months plus after having just the lead discovered, the automation is working. Where is the most valuable part of our entire funnel? It's in our purchasers. It's people who can come back and purchase. Who are most often the most neglected group? Our purchasers. And so this is a beautiful tool that can be connected to your CRM or your sales program, so that you can actually continue to drip on somebody to upsell them afterwards. I mean, these people are already engaged with you, and without doing it,
they like your company.
Yeah. And you've been ignoring them up to now. You can set and play this program and just give them as much valuable information as you can, keeping yourself top of mind. It improves the relationship that they have with the company, and obviously improves the dollar spent per customer that you guys have. So the value of it in front of the funnel as well as after the sell occurs is absolutely there. Let's go on, because I know
I have so much to say there. I have so many things to jump in on there, but I won't. I love this stuff.
You can tell that we're quite excited. We really like what we're talking about today. So we got into the weeds, as we mentioned we would, but we want to explain one more time how easy this really is. And so in a 3-step process, I wanted to show you guys what it really takes to implement a program of this nature. And the first one is simply to connect your marketing channels. If you know the logins to your CRM, your MailChimp, your social, your WebEx, and your analytics, you can literally out of the box with most of the major automation programs, just log into them, and everything is connected, and it will begin reading your data. other than a short, there is a bit of a technical setup, which is placing the script on your website, and then you do usually need a vanity URL of some sort, so you have to do a CNAME. But in order for you to have a website to begin with, you've already done that once, and to replicate it is absolutely the easiest thing in the world. There's a few other things with DKIM and email setup, but usually they take less than 5 minutes to complete. And so if you know your logins, you could pretty much get this thing set up in less than 24 hours.
Oh, absolutely, I agree. I wasn't part of the setup, but I've done it in the past for a number of these, and it's literally just connecting them, logging in, you putting in your username and password. Yep. There's APIs that connect all these things together and pull the data in. It's simple, straightforward.
Absolutely. And again, the major ones will have this out of the box. And to what John was just saying, those that if you guys are using a different CRM that isn't offered, almost, I don't want to say 90%, I bet I'm too high there, but a majority of the time there's already an existing API. These people have been approached already, and there's something you can tap into. Or
a pretty simple workaround if they don't have an API.
And fairly cost effective as well, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, that's how this whole thing gets started. That's step number 1, less than 24 hours. Step number 2, this is the meat of the process, and this is creating an automation program. These are the sales and campaigns. This is where sales and marketing really need to sit down and talk about the things, the touch points that they want to see and the interaction that they want an automated program to do before it starts sending notifications to sales or alerts to marketing, or dropping people out of it. How long does it last? Does it go 90 days? Is it a 6-month process? Is it a continual drip campaign? And so, John, you were mentioning you have a number of campaigns for all of these. Can you explain a little of the thought process behind that?
Well, having been overwhelmed by this very slide in the past, this very look at campaigns. This is the drag and drop thing that I was mentioning. You can just take, send email, put a weight in here, put a Salesforce queue to have a salesperson call, put landing pages and forms and things like that on this. This can be as complex as you make it or as simplistic as you make it. You can make this 2 of those little boxes, right? 2 different emails with a 1-week wait in between, right? Which makes it very, very easy to start, very easy to get off the ground, and once you get your feet under you, add to it, change it. This is editable all the time. And so you can customize this as you get more complex, you get more comfortable with it. You can add more emails, you can add tasks in Salesforce through the API. You can do all of these different things very, very easily. You can actually add different tracks. You can see this has got a couple different tracks to it, right? If they open this email, then they get this email. And you can get much, much more sophisticated as you go on. But don't be overwhelmed by that. It's so, so easy to start off. Having done this multiple times, I literally had a few of these back in, I don't know, 5 or 7 years ago when we were kicking these off, with 2 boxes here, with a little connection in between that waited a week. And frankly, the reporting is all integrated in this. So you can say, okay, did they open this? Did they not open this? Did they interact with it? Did they click on links in it? And that stuff is a wealth of information when you're just starting off. You can A/B test different emails with this. You can A/B test subject lines, and you can, like I say, you can get as sophisticated as you want. But start easy. It's really not difficult at all.
I can't agree with you more. I know for us, when I go into a company and I'm implementing this, they want to get the Rolls Royce out of the gates. And what we don't understand is that automation is so good at delivering us data back that we really should start more simple, and even with 1, and understand how the user reacts to it and tweak it and perfect it, and then move on to bigger campaigns and different tracks and things of that nature, because the data is going to inform you. I mentioned earlier that marketing and sales should sit down and have a meeting. At that point, I would argue you guys are guessing. Well, we should send it this
great
time.
point.
You don't know.
You don't know. And
are you pissing people off?
Yeah, or sales will always have an opinion, right? You're talking to their customers as they see it, right? Well, they're the company's customers, and so we just start simple, and it doesn't need to be a big hash out with sales either, because you just say, okay, we're going to start simple. This is how we're going to do it, and it doesn't need to be a tenuous situation. Start small.
Absolutely. Let's go to number 3, and this is kind of what we've been talking about as well, but just this, it'll generate the reports, and you start to adjust your automation programs. Start to read the data. Start making decisions on data and not opinions. I can't express that enough.
Yeah, and one of the things that the data told us was we A/B test some of these emails in our campaign to be more templated, right? Templatized, so it looks, you know, ADP and really flashy, and another one looking like it just came from a sales rep out of Outlook. Mm-hmm. And we had a lot of opinions. No, it's got to be branded. It's got to be this, and the numbers told us otherwise. We knew exactly what we had to do after this, and no one could argue with it.
Right.
So you start small. You get the data.
Absolutely.
Roll with the data. No one can argue. It's a moot point now.
It really is, and it moves the meeting along so quickly, because you could sit for hours and argue who's right. You can end that conversation by, let's go test. In a week, we'll sit back at the table, and you can shake my hand or I'll shake yours.
Yep.
Done deal.
Is the button blue or red? Well, let's try them both.
Right. I mean, John and I are professional marketers. We would love to sit here and say, we're going to give you the best campaign out of the gates. We never fail. No marketer can make that statement. Industries are different. Every company is different. There's a wide range of variables, and if you want to have a unique twist on who your brand is, you might be in healthcare, or you might be in automotive, or whatever it is, and the book has been written for the last 50 years. They know how to do it. They put the science behind it. But that means you are a cookie-cutter automotive. What happens when you put your own voice into something? Does that change the way that people react to you? Does that change how often they want to get your information? HubSpot is a great example. They produce content like it's going out of style. Marketo and HubSpot really kind of taught us how to use content properly and just kept putting it out. And where they didn't go with sales, they saw people really engaging with it, consuming it, and sharing it, so that they could just keep pumping it out. Whereas other companies were just saying buy, 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 and you could only send one of those a month without pissing everybody off. And so you really need to kind of sit down and analyze your own tone. How aggressive are you guys? What are your goals? And tweak the system to match all of those different things. And again, just come back to the reports and let the reports guide you to reaching that goal.
Yeah, one last comment, and we're probably coming up with time here, but markets are adjusting. Your target demographic is adjusting. People are buying your products are not the same person that bought the products 10 years ago, just through demographic shifts and things like that. And cookie cutter approach is no longer acceptable. And marketing automation allows you to tailor it, test it, try it, and revitalize it. We even have, it's funny, we even have a direct mail component plugged into our marketing automation, mm-hmm. which is so interesting because everyone says direct mail is dead. Yeah. I disagree completely. It's actually revitalized right now.
Correct.
And the direct mail component of this is creating leads where we never thought was possible. And who would have thought direct mail? But it's integrated into our marketing automation, and it adds to the scores, and they go out automatically and things like that. It's super, super cool. But no one would have ever predicted that because it's all digital, right? So it's all testing.